Hello, Aldo Figueroa here. In this video, we're going to go over how to bring in one of your custom character generator files and bring it into Maya. So what I have right here is my user setting for the Autodesk character generator. I went ahead and generated this character, Happy the Designer, and I already downloaded this character. And what I have on my computer, what you'll need to do, you'll need to extract the zip file. And at the very least, you're going to need your Maya scene file and also the texture file. You might also have a um, the normal map and also a spectral highlight map. Those are not necessary, but will at least want the color, the texture, and your, of course, Maya scene file. Now, before we open this up within Maya, I want to go ahead and create my project directory. So I'm going to go to File, and under Project, I'm going to go to Project Window. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one, and I'm going to go ahead and call this one my character animation. For my location, I want to go ahead and set this up not to my default location. I have a location on my computer that I want to place them in. And let's see. I'm going to place them in my directory. Let's see. And in my project directory. So I'm going to go place them right there. I'm going to tell it to select. Okay, great. I'm going to tell it to accept. So now what I have on my computer, I just created my project directory. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to access my project directory. So right here I have within a file browser or a Finder window if you're on a Mac. I'm going to go ahead into this folder, and here are all my files or all the folders. And what I want to do, I want to go ahead and move my scene folder. I'm going to go ahead and drag this and put this within my project directory. So on a PC, as you're dragging your file, if we press and hold down Shift, instead of just copying the file, it'll move them. So I find this really useful so that I don't have multiple copies of my files. Hold down Shift, you can see it says Move to Source Images. And so these files, I'm going to close that other window. These files have been moved over. Now, great. Now what I could do within my scene, I'm going to go to File. I'm going to tell it to open, and I want to open up my file, which is Happy the Designer. I can go ahead and tell it to open and do not save. What I have here in this scene, it brings in your model. It already has some lights that if you're going to use these lights, you may keep them there. Otherwise, I'm going to be using Arnold later on, so I'll end up deleting them later. But for right now, they're fine where they're at. What I want to do, let me show what we have. Go ahead and press 6 on your keyboard. 6 turns on the texture mode, and you can see that it's going to locate your files that were within your source images folder in your project directory, and it connects them. But if they do not connect, what you could do, you select your model. I'm going to press Control A to open up the attribute editor. And over here on the top, I'm going to click on this right arrow until we see this body mid. For color, I'm going to click on the input. And for the file right here, you could click on this little file icon so you could select your corresponding file. Well, my file is already here, or you can even tell it to reload. And so my file is already there, so I already see it. So we have that. So what I want to do, I want to go ahead and set up our file so that we could use the HumanIK. So on the top right-hand corner, I'm going to click on the HumanIK interface. And let me show you what we have so far. Under shading, I'm going to turn on X-ray joints. We could see that under master, reference, hips, we have our skeleton. And it's already set up, our skeleton is already set up for a model. And there's not much that we need to do, but I want to show you what we should do before we actually create our rigging controls using the HumanIK. Under definition here, you can see that it's already associated, meaning that the bones are already associated to the proper definitions, to the proper, what will be the controls. Up here, we see that the validation status is green, meaning that all is set. What I've noticed is that if you used one of the bulky characters, oftentimes for the shoulders, you get yellow, meaning that that's a warning. It'll still work. HumanIK will still work, but it's a warning. Now, if there's anything that is red, that's a clear, it needs to be fixed. It's a big warning sign. Not just a warning, but it is like it will not work. So you need to adjust, you need to make some corrections if you see that it's red. But oftentimes for all the characters that you create and you generate from Autodesk Character Generator, they for the most part should be green, though you might get a little bit of yellow. You could still use the HumanIK. So now we have this right here. All you need to do is under the source tab, switch from none to to control rig, and what you now have are your controls. So if you look closely over here in my outliner, I have under Windows Outliner, it's already been displayed, and I just have this in my interface. We now have this character control reference, and this tool, this reference allows you to place your character anywhere within your scene. I'm going to undo. And within this reference, you have all these effectors, which are all the different controls. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to File. I'm going to tell it to save scene as. I'm going to go ahead and rename this one. It's still going to be Happy the Designer, but I'm going to add ready for posing. Not ready for animation, but ready for posing. I'm going to tell it to save as, and it's saving this file. But there's a couple of things that I could do right now to make adjustments. Now, if you notice really closely, I'm going to click on the hip effectors and notice how small this control is. For some reason, on my file at the very least, my controls are really small. They'll still work, but if you want to make these controls easier to see, I'm going to switch to the attribute editor by holding down Control A. And within this window, I do not want to change the scale for under the transform attributes. Instead, if I scroll down, there's under the HIK, the HumanIK effector attributes, scale offset. So right now it's set to 1. I want to offset the scale. I want to say maybe by 20. 20 for X, for Y, and for Z. Return. And you can see that this has now, it's larger. A good thing is that we could change those things. The bad thing is that we'll have to go through each one of these all the way from the top to the bottom. You cannot do the ones under the character control hips. It does not have that option. So let me just go back to the ankle and let me just show you. I'm changing these to 20, 20, 20. And you can see that it's easier to see. I'm going to save this for right now, Command or Control S. But what I have, let me go ahead and show you. I have a different version of my file that I already went ahead and went through all those different settings. So I'm going to move this file into this scene, into my project directory. It's Happy the Designer version 2. And I'm going to go back into Maya. I can go to File, and I'm going to tell it to open. I want to open up that version 2. Again, this is only if you need to resize all of your effectors. I'm going to go ahead and open this one. Let's see. Don't save because I already saved it. And let me go into shading. I'm going to turn on X-ray joints so we can see all my effectors and my bones. And you can see that the controls are easier to see. So the only difference between this file and the previous one is that I just spent the time before scaling all these effectors. Then now that's only if you need to. So at this point, what I could do, since this one is now ready to be posed, I could go ahead and I can go to save scene as, and let me go ahead and update this file for the ready for posing. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to save. It's going to tell me, do I want to replace it? I'm going to tell it yes. And now what I'm going to do, this file is now ready for posing. Now there's a couple things that I want to do to this file, which I'll do in the next video, so that uh, what I will be doing at this point, this is going to be my reference file. I will then select this file, open it up, and do immediately a file save scene as, and maybe say this is pose 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. But before I do that, I want to add a couple of things to this scene, and I'll do that in the next video. I want to add a floor plane and add some lights so that it's already set up, but I'll do that in the next video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in that next video.